What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. And today we're going to have a little bit of a different episode for you. We're going to do a weekly wrap-up, new style we're trying to do, get some quick points in, and we can start with some preliminary contract discussions with Kyle Juszczyk. Matt, Josina Anderson reported earlier in the week that here's her tweet exactly. My understanding is there's been a few preliminary exchanges with the 49ers and impending free agent fullback Kyle Juszczyk on a deal for his potential return. As of Monday, the wait continued to ascertain how KJ fits into the team's budget relative to the 2021 cap minimum of 180. Juszczyk is happy to return to the 49ers. Talks have been pleasant. Meanwhile, the opportunity to test the free agent market is there as well. What do you make of this? Do you think the 49ers end up letting Juice walk?
I think if he's too expensive, they'll let him walk. But on the flip side, I know that Kyle Juszczyk realizes that the 49ers are one of the only teams that utilizes a fullback in a way that makes it worth his while, that he's going to get paid for. The only other team that I can think of is obviously the Jets, just because of the Robert Saleh connection and that they're going to be implementing the 49ers offense there. But besides that, all indications are he likes it here, but that he kind of misses his family on the East Coast. I think that's another thing that's in favor of the Jets. So if I had to guess one way or another, I think that while there's going to be no hard feelings, I think the Jets are going to offer him a little bit more and he'll be out the door.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way. I just feel like, and that was a really good point. I didn't even think about, honestly, how many teams even utilize a fullback. Wasn't it just the 49ers and the Ravens last season? I
think
could
so,
be wrong.
Yeah. And the Ravens have a really good fullback, so they don't need him.
He
just came from Baltimore, so.
Yeah, that's true. It was DeMarco, right? I believe the Ravens fullback.
Yes,
like
yes.
So
Patrick DeMarco.
Yeah, so the 49ers have a really tough decision to make here. We discussed this on our live stream with Mike Andrews, Nothing But Niners on Saturday. Do they value Juice enough to keep him over other players? Keeping Juice, does that cost you keeping a guy like Trent Williams? If you are able to keep him, it's tough. He's going to make a pretty penny, especially for how much he's utilized. Is it worth it? That's going to be something the 49ers need to decide. But it's nice to see that they're at least having some preliminary discussions because he is valued here, and I like Juice. I love him as a player, love him as a person. He was crying after Week 17 just at the thought of having to go play for another team again. So he obviously loves it here.
Yeah, I just think, for the number that he got, I think he realizes he got a lot more money than what his production said he should have gotten. And he just wasn't utilized well here. I don't think that they ever used him in a way. I remember when the team first signed him, we were all like, oh, offensive weapon. We designated this label. And just like every other time offensive weapon's been thrown out, nothing came of it. So, if he leaves, I love him as a player and, as a personality and a leader on the team, but production-wise, I don't think that we'd be missing that much. You can get another corn-fed Haas in here to block for our running backs. So not that he did a great job anyway. We're talking about Tevin Coleman and his -1 yards in the cloud of dirt. So, it's the end. It's the end.
Yeah, maybe even move Ross Dwelley into that position. Who knows? The next topic we have here is Hall of Fame quarterback. I believe he's Hall of Fame. Yeah, he is Hall of Fame. Kurt Warner recently spoke to Eric Branch of the San Francisco Chronicle, and he was not high about Josh Rosen and his potential. Matt, his quote here is, "To me, there are a lot of questions based on what I've seen and the fact that he continues to bounce around. A guy that continues to bounce around, most times you say, okay, enough coaches have seen him, and this is probably going to just be what it is." Do you think that that's a fair assessment of what Josh Rosen and his situation is with the 49ers?
I think it's partially fair. In the there are a lot of guys. Once you get to a certain point, you're just like, all right, we've seen this guy. But in Josh Rosen's case, he didn't get a fair shot. He went to a one-year wonder in Arizona, a defensive coach that didn't know what to do with him. He got fired. Then he got shipped off to Miami. Miami also has a defensive coach. Now, Brian Flores is a hell of a coach, but Brian Flores also played musical chairs with Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick this year. So even, Brian Flores with the quarterback situation can be a little bit fluid. And you saw that when Rosen was there and they kind of oscillated between Fitzpatrick and Rosen. Then he goes on to Tampa Bay's practice squad because now 2 coaches have seen him by Kurt Warner's logic, so he's damaged goods. He ended up on their practice squad, and then the 49ers ended up taking him from there. Bruce Arians liked him enough. The first offensive guy liked him enough to put him on the practice squad. Kyle Shanahan liked him enough to pluck him off the practice squad and then sign him to a futures contract. So if anybody's going to be able to do anything with him, it's Kyle Shanahan. So at least to Warner's credit, I mean, I do think this is Rosen's last shot to really make something of his career. But at the same time, I don't think we've seen enough of him to really determine what he can do and what he can't do. Yes, he had a tough year in Arizona, but I also saw him throw some really good passes there. And first-round picks are first-round picks for a reason, and we know that they get more latitude than everybody else. So if anybody's going to get another shot, it's going to be a first-rounder like Josh Rosen. So this is going to be the match that could make or break his career. And if it doesn't work out, then yeah, he's definitely a bust.
Yeah. Look, when I read this, I'm like, coming from Kurt Warner of all people, Kurt, you bounced around a lot in your NFL career.
Grocery bagger.
I thought that was a little original. Even before that, I mean, he started out looking at his career here, went undrafted in the 94 draft, and then he kind of got a shot with the Packers. Then he went to the Iowa Barnstormers of the Arena Football League, and then he landed with the Rams. By that logic, 2 coaches had already seen you, and then, he went to the Rams. Obviously, they had a nice run of success there.
Yep.
And then
he got hurt, and then they sent him to the Giants. He sucked on the Giants, so they shipped him to Arizona, where he had a late career resurgence. So, it's really weird that Warner would, I don't know, maybe he's like, since I've been there, I know, but I don't know. It was kind of weird to me. His
maybe. Yeah, I thought it was a little rich coming from him, a little the pot calling the kettle black. But if anybody should know that you can turn your career around, it should be him. And I just thought, look, man, like you said, Matt, he had an unfair shake in Arizona. He did not get the time extended to a first-round pick that normally is. And he went to Miami, where it was just a bad situation all around. And then, I don't know, he kind of went under the radar to go to Tampa's practice squad. I was really excited that the 49ers signed him. I was saying they should have signed him ahead of Josh Johnson when they signed him. So,
yeah, me too. I mean, if we know what anybody is Josh Johnson. I mean, that dude's been on like 6 teams.
He was on the 49ers when we had Harbaugh.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I think Josh Rosen, if he gets called upon, he might surprise some people. I'm just leaving it at that. The next topic we have here, guys, is the 49ers strength of schedule. Matt, it's going to be tough. I mean, they finished 6-10 last year, and now they are tied for the 13th toughest schedule in 2021. How do they, go around that? And do you think the 49ers are able to rebound and compete?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Strength of schedule is, it can be a useful metric in certain areas and not so useful in others. I mean, it's really all it depends on is how the team finished the year before, right? But it doesn't take into account draft. It doesn't take into account free agency. Those are all projected differences in their record. So it could be easier or harder than what's predicted here. I think the real issue is going to be within the division. Is the division tougher than it was last year? And I think the answer to that is going to be yes. Depending on what happens with Russell Wilson, I think the Seahawks are going to ultimately bend and give Russell Wilson a little bit of input. They're going to go and get him some guys, and Seattle's always there in the playoff picture. Arizona is going to be an extra year healthier, extra year with growth with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. They're going to have another draft pick to kind of, bolster that whole thing, and they could be better. And then, of course, you have the Rams, who won the division last year with Jared Goff, but then turned that into Matthew Stafford. It could be a tough road to hoe for the 49ers if they don't get everything in order. And depending on what the 49ers do, they could improve or get worse. It's all up in the air right now, but at the end of the day, the 49ers can only control who's on their roster, what their personnel looks like, and then go out there and play the games. So I know their strength of schedule, I think it's at 0.502, so it's just above 50%. That could change. Really what they need to do is take advantage of the games that are winnable, win those games. And then, the division is going to be a knockdown, drag out affair. The NFC West has been the best division in the NFL for a while. and made the best team come out on top. The 49ers have a lot of work to do, though.
They do, and look, with strength of schedule, I understand how it works and all that, but the NFL is so fluid. It's really hard to say based on last year, this is how the team's going to project as far as toughness when you face them next year. It's tough. I mean, the 49ers could draft a quarterback. Maybe they end up with a Zach Wilson, and they are a completely different team than they were in 2020. Who knows? And, like you mentioned the Rams, they now have Matt Stafford. I would say that they're a much better team than they were with Jared Goff. So it's so fluid that to be honest with you, I kind of take strength of schedule with a little bit of a grain of salt, just because of how fluid the NFL is.
As you should.
Yeah, exactly. Next topic we have for you guys is, when can we expect a Fred Warner contract extension? What do you think, Matt?
I'd like to get them to get it done before training camp hits, just so that we have that peace of mind and we don't have to go through another season of like, are they going to get it done? Are they not going to get it done? I know that George Kittle's extension was kind of like that, where we're like, dude, what's happening with this? It's going to happen now. Is it going to happen later? Fred Warner's been a leader on this team. He's one of the top guys that we have. And if you're not going to do the Peter King weird over trade thing and get rid of him, then you got to lock him up. You can't just let him walk out the door for free.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's always much better, because once the season starts, you got so many things going through your mind, especially as a front office or a head coach. You want to get that out of the way before that, so that way you can go into the season knowing, look, he's locked down. I don't have to worry about that. So I agree with you there. I'd like to see it by then. I think that's going to do it for this first edition of our weekly wrap-up. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode. If you like what you see, do us a solid. Hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 2K. You know the whole spiel. We'll be there soon enough, and somebody's going to win a 49ers jersey. Like this video. Drop a comment below. Any of these topics, give us your thoughts. We'd love to read them.
Go ahead and click the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Thanks again for watching and joining us today. And until next time, go Niners.